external powers, be they Chinese or Western, should not dictate the terms of this, but act as facilitators in Africa deciding its own path. Participation from both Chinese and Western powers must continue, but the differences between the approaches of the two should be seen as complementary rather than in competition for influence.
We need a new seeking. We need new ways of seeking. And we are now discuss issues like non-interference, regional integration, but we still use the Western or European ways of seeking to discuss such matters. And China and Africa as a whole, both from the global south, and we should have our global south seeking ways.
We should better utilize the high-level dialogues because the bilateral relations between China and Africa will have to depend always on the political guidance of the top. We have to build the mutual confidence, mutual trust. We have to stress for mutual accommodation, mutual adaptation, so that we can promote the mutual, the win-win cooperation. We need to encourage more participation from the civil societies, from the business communities and think tank people and people at rank and file levels, because any development is regards to the people. It is the people that should have the say.
China should continue supporting AU peace missions and strengthening the capacity of the AU to deliver on its set goals. Africa should not overburden China with too much expectations, but let the relationship evolve and yield results as it grows. Africa should craft a conducive policy environment that guides China's entry into different economies and different areas or different sectors.
Rather than China and Africa being responsive and reactive, that they react to actions and policies developed elsewhere, that they make partnership and take the initiative to deal with African governance and security issues. This is the main lesson to be learned from the case of the Sudan.
Africa is a great, huge continent, but when it's divided into 54 countries, in terms of markets, it's too small. Continental integration is one of the preconditions to go ahead.
We have very limited models. When China makes its policy, it's for 1.3 billion people. We do that 56 times, 55 times in many different ways, mostly based on European models from several different countries. We need to study much more closely how China did this.
The Chinese should know more about African culture, and the Africans should know more about Chinese culture, and this will pave the way to economic, political cooperation.
Africa is at a primary stage of industrialization. It is actually, we could say that it's fortunate for Africa that it has the opportunity to avoid the old development models of the West, and also to avoid the lessons from the emerging markets.
It is important that China and Africa collaborates to have centers of excellence on information in Africa, so that we have reliability on such information, and it will be therefore possible to derive or to have indigenous solutions to African problems.
It is understood now that non-intervention or non-interference doesn't mean indifference, but China should develop a set of norms to guide its non-indifference to African affairs.
We Africans should not call on China or the United States to flex the arms of our governments in order to bring about governance or democracy. That the onus would be on us.
May I suggest that we use another term instead of intervention or non-intervention? We used, as Professor Wang Yizhou said, the creative involvement. I propose that we use the constructive involvement or constructive engagement with African affairs, especially concerning governance issue, peace and security.